My name is Carolyn Mulders, and I'm here to show you how to make a quick two-turned Christmas stocking. My guild has Christmas stockings that they give to our local charity, and the charity fills them with goodies for our local community at Christmas time. They gave me the packages, but they didn't give me any instructions, so I had to go searching for the instructions. So I'm going to share what I found with you to make everything easier. So what our guild gave us was some raw fabric, and what they wanted us to turn it into was something that looked like this or this. They're the same. This one is quilted, this one is not quilted. So what you get in these kits are 2 pieces of lining fabric, 2 pieces of batting, and 2 pieces of outside fabric. And you'll notice that these are opposites of each other. They're not cut exactly the same. So if you're cutting them yourselves, you have to line them up good size to good and then cut it out on the pattern so that you get a right and a left. Okay? So what you have to do once you've got all your pieces cut, so we've got 2 pieces of outside, we've got 2 pieces of lining, we've got 2 pieces of batting. You're also going to need to cut some material for a tab, and that will end up looking like this. And you also need to cut some material that will be a coordinating cuff for your stocking, and that is here. So once you've got your particular pattern cut, then it'll help you figure out what measurements you need for the cuff and for the tab. Okay? And the trick of this, because it is so easy and so simple, is how you lay it down and then how you sew it. And then how you turn it. So the first thing you have to do is you lay your lining fabric down, right side up. Then you put another layer of lining fabric right side down against the first piece and line it up so it's exactly matching. Then you layer a piece of batting, and in this case I already pre-basted the batting and the outside together because I was planning on quilting it. But you don't have to quilt it if you don't want to. So it's lining, lining, batting, then the outside fabric good side up, then you put another layer of outside fabric right side or good side down, making sure everything's lined up each time you do, and then you put the layer of batting. And once you've got them all laid together, then you can clip them, you can pin them, but you take them to your sewing machine and sew all the way around the outside of your stocking, leaving the top part open for turning. And I have one of those already. And when it's done, it looks like this. So there's the lining, and the lining, the batting, and the other inside. Here we go. I've pinned all of the important points so that they don't slip. But you can use clips, you can use pins, you don't have to use either one. I'm using a slightly bigger seam allowance, about 3/8 of an inch, just so that I can capture all of the layers and make sure that I don't have any loose ends. So I'm going to sew it, and I'll show you the results in just a minute. Stitch length is your normal stitching length for all of this. It's a lot of layers. Go slowly, take your time, but you only have to do it one time, which is the magic. And I recommend back stitching when you start and stop. As you can see, I'm getting a little assistance. And just like that, we're done. We're done sewing the stocking. So, clipping the threads, we have our lining, and it's stuck together with the other lining. Then we have the batting. I know it's hard to see, but there you go. And then you have the lining, and then you have the batting. So this is our stocking, all sewn all the way around, and it looks like I've caught all the bits and pieces so it's not going to come apart. You actually put your hand between the lining layers, so the two lining layers, you reach in between the lining layers and you grab the toe and you pull it all the way out. Just that simple. And I've had to practice pulling this in and out a few times on the other stocking, so I'm getting really good at it. And the idea is after you've got this all done, you give it a good press. So we've got the lining to the outside. We've got the outside on the inside. We'll reach in and we'll grab that one. And just that simple, she says. And a little extra tug. Got the outside on the outside, the inside on the inside, and the hard part really is done. Now, when I basted the outside to the batting, it was so that I could quilt it. And I did a sample and the quilting doesn't really show. So it's up to you whether you want to pre-quilt your stocking or not. Once it's put together, it is impossible. It is impossible to quilt it because it is this giant sock. We now have a pressed stocking, but the edges on the top are a little rough. So the first thing you do is you take your ruler and you make a nice clean cut across the top. And this isn't 100% necessary, especially if you're using larger seam allowances, but it will make things just a little bit easier. Okay? And then we're going to measure the circumference of the stocking top. And in this case, it is 7 times 2, so it's 14, plus a ½ an inch for seam allowance, and that is what we're going to cut our cuff. Now this particular cuff is 8 inches wide by, we're starting with 17 inches long. So we're going to cut 14.5 of this so that we can make a cuff that fits snugly inside the stocking. And it doesn't have to be 100% exact because there's going to be a little bit of give and take on this because it is fabric and because you've got cushion and you would like a really snug fit. So don't stress too much on any one aspect of this. It's supposed to be fun. And then we take our cuff fabric and we sew along the short edge. So here we go with that. And yes, you can backstitch at the top and the bottom of this. Now we have our tube, and you need to press the seam. You can press it open or you can press it to the side. It doesn't really matter. I just finger press it really quickly to give it a head start. And then I'll take it to the iron and fold it in half and make my cuff. And it's going to be wrong sides together for the cuff, okay? The other thing that you need is the tab, the hanging tab for the stocking. I already have one made, but I'll show you how it's done. And then we'll assemble all of them together. So in this particular case, it is a 2-inch wide piece of fabric by 8 inches long. And you press it in half, and then you press the sides into the center, and then you fold those together so that there are no raw edges exposed, and you sew along the folds, both of them. And another little trick that I like is when you've got your hanging tab is to baste it together before you put it in the stocking so it doesn't come apart. And so about an eighth of an inch from the end, you just sew across the thing, the tab ends. So now this is where the fun part comes. We've got our stocking with the edge trimmed. We're going to put our hanging tab at the side where the heel is on the stocking. It took me a couple of tries to get my brain around where it's supposed to go, and I had friends helping me at this point, so it was kind of funny. So we put that in, the hanging tab in, and I like to put the tail ends just a tiny bit above so that I can see it. And I will put a clip there, to hold it in place temporarily while I get everything else together. Okay, so we've got the stocking, we've got this inside, I've got the tab clipped to where the seam is on the heel side of the stocking. And then I've got my cuff, which is made and been pressed, and we're going to take where the seam is, where it joined, and we're going to put that along the same end as the tab. Okay, and we're going to line up all the raw edges together. So take your time. This is not a race, just clipping it in place there. And I'm actually going to put a couple of pins in. And you're going to end up with a few layers that you weren't expecting when all the seams come together. So just take your time, sew carefully. If you need to use tools to get over the big layers, use them. But because we measured, it should be a pretty exact fit on the inside. Okay? And I'm just going to put a couple pins on either side of the tab. And personally, I like to start at the tab. And for me, the easiest way to sew this is to sew it from the inside. So the inside will be what I'm looking at as it goes around underneath my presser foot. So I'm going to take a big step up with my presser foot to lift it over all of these layers. And I'm going to hand crank it through part of this so that it can go through all these layers, because there's a fair bit. And I'm still using a 3/8 seam allowance just because I want to capture all of the layers and not lose anything. And done. Trim your threads. And we trim the tab that's sticking up, just off, just like that, or just like that. And then we flip the cuff to the outside. And give it a press again if you want. But really, it is that simple. Just that easy. It's all about how you layer it and how you turn it. Lining, lining, batting, outside, outside, batting, sew around the outside, measure after you've turned it, add a half an inch for a seam allowance once you've measured the circumference of the stocking. Put the tab in first along the heel side, and then put the cuff in, sew around the top, and it's done. You can add finishing details by adding embellishments if you want, if it's for your own use. If you're donating it, it's up to you how much effort you put into it. If you're concerned about the raw edges on the inside of the cuff, these raw edges right there that you can see, all you have to do is top stitch enough of a distance down to hold it in place. You know, a good 3/8 half inch if you'd like, and it will secure it and you won't have to worry about raw edges anywhere. So there you have it. Enjoy. I hope you learned something. I know I did, and I'm very grateful for being able to contribute to my community, and I'm very grateful to be able to share this with you, and I hope it helps. Have a great day.